Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everyone. I'm going to talk about something today that can impact you, make you feel much better once you harness this. And it simply comes down to listening to your body. Your body is always talking to you, and it's giving you clues. It's giving you signs. That's just the starting point for what she offers as a core energetic practitioner. And I don't think I've ever done a podcast with a priestess. Priestess Miriam joins us here on the program. How are you?
I'm great. A little nervous.
Don't be nervous. Yeah, I love just having these organic conversations with people and learning what they do and how they support and help others. Now, how do you describe core energetic practitioner?
How do I describe
what you do as a core energetic
Could
practitioner?
you repeat that? A core. Well, for me, as a practitioner, as well as an organizer of many things, organizer of myself, or organizer of people's problems, issues, as well as being able to organize an institution that can meet the needs of humans who struggle through different circumstances in their life, jobs, institutions, etc., as well as so many things are added to our experience that we was not thinking that would be added, especially being in New Orleans. Over the past 30 years, we have been entertained with different movies, or Nick Cage, to many other artists that require some insight for us of our ideas, our service, or just to fit into somebody's life experience that they want to make it a little more excitable, a little more indifferent than the other. But for being a practitioner, it's like a service manager. And being a service manager is like having a lot of different foods on the menu, and then different people who have different tastes. And then you have to look within your couple and see how many other assorted substance to meet the different tastes as well as the attitude of the human eclectic needs. And so that can be really a challenge sometimes.
Now, with energy, and I've been...
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I've been studying energy for the last number of years, and it's definitely, understanding it has definitely supported me in my journey. Do you use energy healing modalities to help people?
Well, it's amazing when we speak about energy. It's like something that's far beyond each one of us who seems to feel that we are applying it. It was one day a tour company came and with the group of people to the temple, and there was a young boy along with them. They had walked hours. And he asked me, well, what is God? And somehow out of my mouth came to him, it's energy. And so when I looked around, and the little boy had just gone to sleep. So energy is something that we cannot concede or to hold, that we are passing it, but allowing the force of it to align itself to the subject or to comply to the circumstance without us taking full initiative that we are passing energy. Because in real sense, as we pass energy or energy pass, there's so many different other thoughts and ideas that float in beyond the subject that we feel that we are applying energy to. And it can cause a lot of distraction. And then we become thinking, well, did I really apply it right or properly? So when we allow energy to be its own domain of compliance and that we have many other thought flow that go and cause the physical person distraction. But when we can sit quietly and energy can advance itself, then we can quiet down those thoughts that keep rushing in, that it causes the physical person distraction, that maybe he would have distracted the energy flow if he thought he was so much given. And then you start thinking, well, dad, did I really do it because I had so many thoughts? I was thinking I had to go shopping. And it happens. So when people start sitting quietly, every details of your life start rising up in you, and thoughts of your own inadequacies and things that you have not got done through the day. And it's like, well, dang. But allowing the person to sit quietly, and maybe he feel that you applied the energy, but you give the person some creative thought that he can find some solitude in himself beyond you trying to decide you applied the energy to make him feel better with himself. That's one way to look at it.
You help and support people that have blocked energy. How do you describe what blocked energy is?
That's amazing. That's wow. So if we looked at block energy, it's like looking at a volcano, then something is going to erupt. The pressure will get so intense. Wow. So, but for us, the healer is to settle the person in a quiet order of himself, that all of his rushing fears and emotions that has opened up this vessel of negative energy, it can relax itself within the person more than he was anxious to be released of it. Because all that is within the person that maybe seems so infuriated to him, he can sit quietly and regain a different focus about it. Then he can use it to put some other creative action well with itself. So in that sense, energy that is in that level of convulsionism is what restore and restructure other ways for us to measure for our well-being, or to put some other creative ideas into play, and becomes another creative formation for us to utilize in other activities of our life. So, but never to think that energy is so outrageous that we got to move it so quickly, but we settle it within the vessel, and then things can reorganize in the person's mind or in the space that we want to rush this negative energy out. It just re-enter and make other creative factors well with itself. So we can never say we dismiss negative energy, because it's always recreating something more defined. So that makes sense.
What do you physically do? Like somebody comes before you, maybe they've identified that they have blocked energy, right? Or you've detected it. Hey, wait a minute, there's blocked energy in maybe a chakra, right? What are you doing to support them and open up that energy?
Over the years, been dealing with people that it gets so multiplied, because people are not able to sit and use an energy that disturbs them in a different order than feeling critical about it. And so once they can sit with the critical current of energy, then they may get a vision of how to do the greatest art painting, put together a greater fashion for itself. But so many people cannot come to that level. So when people come before me, sometimes it's according to the individual. Sometimes I'm like, well, my goodness, how in the heck you got there? and that person have to stop. And it's like, oh, so you kind of throw a thought to distract the person from what he thought he was rushing for you to comply that he had a really negative thing that you had to rush to cleanse him or take something off of him. And a lot of people say, I just want it off of me. I want it off of. People don't want to deal with things that can be better for them if they are paranoid or they get so worked up that, oh, somebody has really messed my life up. And I said, well, what were you doing for people to mess your life up? Here you in this whole body, you in your whole station, you know more what you are about than what a person outside can make your life torn apart. So you have to use thought suggestion or throw thoughts against what people want you to accept that they have big problems. And because quite natural, we all want somebody to release us off something so quickly if we don't want to take responsibility for our role in the situation. You know, it's like a child go out playing and he go and he run and tubbing with his friends, and all of a sudden, you're like, oh, mom. And sometimes moms rush to that child's aid so quickly. And then after so many times, he's rushing and mom rescuing him. And then he's always feel like he's the victim. And so each parent has to stop and say, well, now, you're out there with your peers. You can't always have someone to run to. You have to see how to organize better with your peers than complaining that your peers is always out to get you. And so many clients come to us like that. Many people come, oh, those people, they out to get me. They put something at my door. They done made my life miserable. I said, well, what the heck was you doing for somebody to make your life so miserable before you take action and think, well, yes, somebody made your life miserable. You have to look at the individual, not only how he advocates, but also his persona, how he want all things perfectly for himself without taking action or allowing others to present something indifferent than what they wanted so perfectly organized. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. One thing I want to definitely dig into is the victim mentality. You know, why did this happen to me? Why does this have to happen to me?
Yeah.
How does somebody get out of that mindset?
Well, that can be unique. That if they enjoy and always get recognition that they are the victim of so much. But supposedly the individual that you accuse of making you a victim or also had something more equated with itself and maybe needed you to reflect to him as much as that individual wanted all the attention to him. And so there's just sometimes people that are very selfish or over selfish, retaining that they are always up against the wall. They're always having problems on their job. That they feel that the supervisor is always out to get me. And then it's like you build up this insanity or paranoidism. And yet, when you look, you could have brought pleasant ideas to the institution. You could have came in with a creative smile. You could have said, good morning. It's a beautiful day. As a beautiful lady, Catherine Ponder, writes that if you go in, you see the good in everything, or you try to comply that the good is in this story, and then you will always see a fault, a problem. But, it takes time for people to get there because sometimes people are always looking for something to complain about. They're the big complainer. and then you try to reduce a complainer who loves to complain and excite a ride. And that takes a lot to bring that person's mind in different than what he has enjoyed applying.
Wow.
So, it takes time to bring a person off of that roller coaster. It's like, but they argue for their own self to be the victim or one who have to always chastise somebody. It's a unique art of trying to bring people off of that pedestal.
Miriam, what's your background? I want to know how this began for you, harnessing energy, helping people heal, making them more conscious. Where did that start for you?
Oh, brother. Well, my life started years back. I was born in Mississippi, in the countryside with my family. I was born in 1943. And so no self-made up idea that I just went out there to harness energy. Observation is a key. If you observe well, and I learned from my childhood, observing especially my mom and having to discipline herself to be orchestrated so well to manage for 7 children. And so, but sometimes our clients would say, oh, I always felt like I was left out. My mother wasn't there for me. But if you observe the lady who stepped out in front of you and had courage to organize principles for you to balance yourself under them, then you're like, wow. But not everybody could say that. That's just how my rhythm at that, being a young child, sitting quietly, but with observation to see beyond the circumstance. And I love that. If that's where my soul began to the practice, it can always go back to that little spot, you know? And so, like, rising and coming out into the big world is not like you just jump to the table that somebody find you at. I've had to rise through school, through high school, to go out to benefit myself in working as many people. And I think that's a big part of our awakeness of what table we're going to better comply ourselves through. I wouldn't want to skip that part. And having that moment, as I tell people, in 62 and after high school in New York and domestic housekeeping. And so in Nalport, here we are domesticated with people who have domesticated problems and circumstance. And if you work in a skillful order, as you are in any institution, you're going to be domesticated to get some work done, right? And so if I went out to a job that said for domesticated work, then that's the title. I deal with people domesticated affairs of their different problems, be it to doing funeral service, or people want weddings, people want to have their marriage retained, and they want their lovers to come back. It's just amazing. So there's so many things discipline you to your seat. It's like now, it's like everybody wants to be trained, but life train you to every step of your existence. And if you can adapt well with your own inadequacies, then you can help people to take initiative to adapt well with theirs. There's no room, there's no way for us to escape. But many people want an escape pattern, right? So through that time, coming in, working, and ordained myself into working skillfully in operating room, surgical technician, and a lot of things. If you don't have experience, you have nothing, right? And so every discipline that you apply, as you clean, if you worked in a hotel, or whatever you did, that's part of the anatomy that makes you become a servant to yourself, as well as humans who rely on you to help them. Every piece of your experience. If you dance well on the dance floor, and where you dance. And if you dance, as the songwriter said, 2:45, and then you got to get home, and yet you got to get up and go to work, right? But you get a quick nap and go and do good work on your job that pays your rent. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, so is how does all of these part of your development, your growth, set you well at the table that you sit with people who's struggling, trying to figure out, why did this happen to me? Because if it happened to me, then if I had lost my whole self in it as a big problem, but if I kicked my butt and got up and weighed in some good from it, so every experience in our life is the teacher that give us the quality to rise and be better, improve with ourselves.
I love your positivity. You are, you just ooze positivity and practicality too. How, if somebody wants to connect with you, Miriam, maybe have a session with you, maybe try and figure out what's going on in their life, how do they find you?
Well, they can call me at 504-943-9795 or email me at voodoospiritualtemple@hotmail.com. Or just fly on down to New Orleans. And people say, well, she's down there. So, but it's amazing that people find me from all over the world. And I like, how did you? They called me from a lady from Australia. She said, I want to get to reading. And she said, and people appreciate it. It's like, wow. And I do phone consultation, and that was a phone consultation and for that lady. And so she said, oh, great, that was the best. You know, not only that, from New Zealand to pretty much from around the world, that somebody find. I have a unique lady that's an opera singer, and I tell her, well, let's make this beautiful opera of love, is that every opera that proceeds of having a great lover, they die. I said, since you're going through this moment of your experience, let's make an opera that maybe this one lives. And so that person was born in Romania. It's like, with that. So how did she? I'm like, wow. And so it's just all of these unique little pieces just come together. And it's a big surprise to me, too, because how would I have known they exist? It's like there's this window open.
Well, you said and we're out of time here. You said the word unique, and that definitely applies to you. I've never spoken to... We get out of time, so
we're
out of time. We're actually over time.
They're cutting us off.
Yeah, they're going to cut us off. I've never spoken to a priestess before. So, Miriam, wonderful having you on here. And thank you for your insight and years of knowledge. And looking forward next time we get together here.
Oh, my gosh. I was just getting started.
We're out of time. I wish I could.
I wish we could go on the rest of the day.
Same here. But we'll catch up next time. And thanks again for being here.
All right. Next Wednesday.
Yep. All the best to you. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.